Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fireside stream. I am your host, Raymond McNeil, and joining me this time is not the erstwhile Mollie Rhyme Master, but in fact the very reliable Mollie Rhyme Master. Mollie, how are you doing today?
Happy Frog Day, everyone! And we might have some of my fellow classmates in chat, so go engineers and go RPI. And for those of you who guessed I'd be in a different location this Friday, you were right. I was thinking about doing like a cool background thing with stuffed animals, but I don't have enough e-girl type plushies. So instead, I just stacked a lot of my hats. It's not all of them.
uh, so yes, hello everyone. Last time on our Fireside stream, we discussed character building and well, not character building, but in particular character studies. But this time, we decided to challenge out to everyone to do descriptive works, and in particular, we challenged everyone to do a descriptive work where the sites the viewer in particular is not particularly, they don't have good eyesight, or they're blind, or they're in a darkened room, some sort of visually impairing circumstance. So to give that extra challenge to the work, in particular, it is a crime scene. I believe we challenged them to. Hence the
Yeah,
name
it
of the
was.
stream.
And the reason why we chose this is because a lot of beginning writers struggle with engagement, and a big thing about engagement is to make sure you use all five senses when you write, because otherwise it just kind of feels lifeless. Um, so the reason why we chose low light is to kind of force people to, you know,
Now, what would you say in order are the biggest, like in order of most used to most underutilized? Do you think are the senses in writing?
well, obviously, taste is a weird one to bring up, so it's not often used at all. But there's definitely times you could talk about like a taste in the air. You know, it tastes different if you go out in the winter versus the spring versus the
I mean,
summer,
I was just
just
like
because of
thinking
what's
it
in the air.
like sight's the most used, very obviously for a lot of
Yeah.
reasons. But then you have hearing, which is probably the next most used, particularly because you have a lot of talking that goes on. I would touch or smell be the next biggest? Do you think?
I would say that like touch is definitely used a lot. Smell is not used a lot.
Mm.
I would argue that touch is used more than hearing.
Oh, really?
Well, like, I mean, think about like human brain process. I see something, I touch it. You hear something, it's you
Well,
you look, you hear something, you look, and then you touch it.
so then wouldn't that necessitate that hearing precedes sight?
No, not in frequency, but that's just kind of how the brain works. Sight is definitely the biggest one. I
Uh,
honestly don't think hearing is utilized enough because it's usually reserved for dialogue, but I don't think it needs to be that way.
I mean, because keeping in mind, like auditory things, it's our first, typically our first warning of danger type deal. It's like our first emergency response is hearing things. Um, see, all five senses. Why do I taste metal as I sit at the bottom of Chernobyl? What? Okay.
My favorite engagement is when Ruby gets down on one knee and asks twice if any enter polyamorous.
Yes, I agree. I know your stance on polyamory, but you know what? That's the one exception I'm willing to make.
Does it count if one's a robot? The eternal
That's
question.
fair. That's fair, actually. Like she actually can just like evenly divide her attention between the two. Like she can actually like 50-50 it mathematically.
Yeah. Film fan brings up a good point. Hearing is really important for horror. It's interesting how it's like a very genre specific thing.
Yeah, it is. It
Because
is.
the lack of sight and the fear of the unknown is one of the biggest things in the horror genre.
I mean, like when you go into people know I'm a big fan of Mahler. I know film fan, you're gonna hate me talking about this, but he has an excellent dissection of the two frictional games, Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Soma. And he one of the big sections he goes into is audio presentation and how important it was for them to get the most accurate and intense sounds, and how those play into creating the horror. Like, you learn about the different instruments they create to create some of the music in particular for certain scenes, where there's this like oboe type instrument they used, and then they raised it like 4 octaves in post processing, creating this almost screaming sound for some of the soundtracks as you're being chased by the water monster. And how they went into that, how they created the sounds of like where they would actually sit in a pond and they would like do different things with water to try and get the right sounds for things. It's sound is incredibly integral to the horror genre. Yeah.
Yeah. Frontier, or William is right. It's the easiest sense to trick into imagining something horrible. Also, speaking of sound, you are quiet on my end. I don't know if you're quiet to chat.
Am I quiet to chat? Am I quiet to you guys? Also, I need to turn. I don't know what kind of music we should have in the background. Nah, we'll leave.
You can play film noir music, like it's just royalty free film noir.
I would play. I don't have royalty free film noir.
Yes, you can look it up.
Oh, I do have Halo ODST, which is very film noir.
All right, he sounds fine to you guys. That's what matters. Maybe, if I'm too loud, that's my issue. Am I low on
your end? Maybe you turn me down for some reason.
All right, Discord.
Halo, where are my Halo tracks? Where are my Halo? Okay, I have so many Halos. Where did I put ODST? It's somewhere in here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Well, which one is the question? Because they all kind of get... I'm just trying to think
I'm a bit loud as per usual. You know, it's like that in real life too, so I'm just being accurate.
There, I'll just turn it down there. Halo's... It doesn't get copyright stricken very often, unless you're playing like the main theme. People don't typically get copyright struck for the background music. But I don't really... the thinking it over, no... one thing I really don't like about the Halo ODST soundtrack is that the different movements in each piece aren't separate songs like they are in, say, Halo 2 or Halo 3. Actually, I think Halo 3 had a bit of this problem too, where a lot of it was just like kind of symphonic, where each section wasn't its own individual song, like Halo 1 and 2 soundtrack were. So you get like heavy rock that melts into classical jazz, and it's like that. It creates a dissonant sound when you're listening to it and relaxing. Where do I submit your writings for these? Yeah, it's in the description. Even when Molly types, it always sounds like she's yelling. Yeah.
Look, I'm doing my best here. I try to turn down the audio. It's tough sometimes.
Do I have the game version of
Scream Energy
of a dark cup of coffee, or what is it? Dark Cup of Joe. What's the name of the song from?
Fragrance of Dark Coffee.
Yeah, Fragrance Dark Coffee. Is this? Do I have that in here? I have the jazz version of it.
Go for it.
But no, that'll get copyright struck in a heartbeat. That's the issue. I would be playing it because I have actually like 3 versions of it that are jazz, and they're all amazing. But like, they all would get copyright struck just because. So sadly, no music for this stream. We're gonna have to go musicless.
Look what I figure out how to do with my tape. Okay.
There's a little sound desync, but that should be fine. So yes, thank you all for joining us. So we have a couple of submissions that we were going to start getting into. I believe first up on our list is Izanagi, right? Which is Crime Scene Limited Vision. Is that what he typed? I'm getting the right prompts, right? Right, Molly?
Yeah. Okay. This is the right prompt.
All right, so let's just hop right into it. Wait! I have one more thing to announce. because I just wanted to make sure I get it out there while people are still coming in. Tomorrow, my channel, noon, Fixing Ruby, Volume 4 finale. It's going live. Be there or be square. I would normally say be potato, but this is so important. You're going full squared here.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, yeah. The day had long ended at the massive office complex. This was normally a building with employees working on projects and earning their keep under sterile fluorescent lights. Now there were only desks and chairs strewn about in near pitch darkness. The only light that pierced this veil. The only light that pierced this veil were the dots. Plural on lights. Were the dots in the skyline outside and the cone of a flashlight. Jerry,
all right, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so far this is pretty good. There's a few parts we can get to in a bit. Jerry, a guard like any other, was patrolling the building. His route took him through one of the data analysis departments in the complex. He expected the night to be uneventful, even though the flashlight was growing dim from draining batteries. He headed towards the stairs and passed one of the server rooms. At that moment, he briefly lost traction. He stumbled back to balance and noticed a door an odor that wafted past his nose. It was a vile and rancid scent. A shiver came over Jerry as he searched for the source. Jerry turned to the room and approached the door. He slowly cracked the door, trying to limit the smell. As the door finally opened, the dim flashlight gazed into the server room, and the sight was hard to stomach. A bulky mass was slumped against the opposite wall. Jerry decided to move closer to investigate. As he approached, the discomforting buzz of flies went off in his ears, accompanied by the stench of rot. Revulsion started to reverberate through his core. He leaned against one of the server racks, hoping for some support to help deal with his disgust. He felt cold, sickly patches of blood and flesh scattered along the surface. He looked for the top of the mass. Where he expected a smooth, round shape, only a dented clump was visible. Minor flickers of light signaled the trickles of blood coming from it. The poor man was sent into a fit of vomiting. He scrambled away in horror, both to report the scene and to recover from the shock. Okay, it's not bad.
Yeah. It isn't.
You got a lot of the what was it? Subject verb.
The subject verb object.
Subject verb object going on.
Which, yeah, he said this. I feel like I have to keep explaining that because I don't know. Just in case new people are watching it, subject verb object is just referring to when a sentence. All the sentences are built like he did this, which is kind of the natural form of how English works.
Yeah.
But it can be very repetitive. There's good imagery here. It's vivid. You know, I can see what he's getting at, which is strong, which is good, and I'm glad that Isa is learning.
For the record, on this page, you are listed as an anonymous walrus.
You're listed as an anonymous wolf, which isn't as exciting.
Yeah,
kind of a common animal.
God damn, I'm a freaking furry.
But yeah,
on all levels but physical, I am a wolf.
But yeah, another thing I like to point out is that there's a lot of kind of repetition, which I know is really hard to avoid when you're dealing with objects. Like there isn't a thesaurus word for a door, but there are ways to work around it so you don't have to read the word door like 4 times in 3 sentences.
Well, you could crack it. It's like he referring to it. I typically try to refer to things following them by like it, and just kind of like like he. Let's see. I'm trying to find a good example of this. His route took him through one of the deep analysis apartments. Actually, I have a point on that. A shiver overcame Jerry as he searched for the source. He turned to the room and approached the door. Reaching out and slowly cracking it open to limit the smell. Like you can make that so much smoother. You can clean that up by putting like it in there instead of door, because we know what he's referring to in the sentence. You can chain along like you could have like uh, subject, verb, object, object again, or like verb, object, verb, object, verb, object. You can chain those along, keeping him going like that. You have to be kind of careful with it. It has to be a little more finesseful, but you can chain those things together.
Yeah, there isn't a hard and fast rule of how to structure a sentence. Besides, it has to be grammatically sound.
Yeah.
And
okay, go.
And another thing I want to get at here. Yes, okay, that's actually a great line. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but not every picture needs to be written or described with 1,000 words.
Yes, I totally agree.
That is a very good way to put it. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Keith Pickett. Because it's a that's kind of one of the things. A lot of people, they get really into describing a certain thing when I don't really need to know that, and it's okay if we just move on. It's kind of like...
Yeah, that's actually what I like about this particular piece so far is it was very focused on what it wanted to describe. And like that's...
Yeah, it is focused, and that's good. When you're doing description, it is very important to stay focused.
You didn't describe, like, for example, he didn't describe at all what Jerry's wearing. We don't need to know what Jerry's wearing.
Yeah, you could just assume he's a detective wearing detective clothes.
Oh, he's a guard like any other. So we can assume he's okay. Probably just some slacks, a button-up shirt. One thing I did take issue with, and this kind of goes back to how we did the character studies. Internal voice, very important. I guess this is from an omniscient point of view, but a lot of it seems to be from third-person limited, from Jerry's point of view.
If you're going to be... I mean, it's kind of tough because this is a very, isolated thing. If this was a big story that had omniscient, and this was just one scene and Jerry wasn't an important character, this would be fine. But if you're going to have this be about Jerry for longer, it is important to start getting in his head and really focus on how he's feeling. And I know, Izanagi in particular, I know that's really difficult for you. But, something I was reading something about Miyazaki, and he says that the reason why anime bother him so, a lot of common anime bothers him so much is because it's written by people who hate people. So they don't understand people. Writing, this goes for everyone. Writers should love people. And should love being with people and talking with people.
Or hate
They don't have to be
tactfully.
super extroverts. You don't have to be ultra extroverted, and you don't have to like everybody, and you don't have to be a crazy optimist. But you should love, being a human, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing I've noticed with a lot of writing these days. A lot of it is so incredibly nihilistic. And a lot of it is very, look at what's popular now. You've got BoJack Horseman, you've got The Boys, you've got the Dracula series, you've got... Like a lot of writing has become incredibly about just these horrible people doing horrible things, and there's not a lot of good people in these stories doing good things. But
the writers still love humanity. They're cynical. However, they love people as a concept, if that makes sense. They're doing these very intense character studies. They're really analyzing people. It's in a negative light, yes, but they are analyzing people very, very strongly. Unless you're mad at...
I don't like BoJack Horseman or The Boys. Actually, I find them they're bitter to me when I try to watch them. I
they are very bitter.
And I
understand that, but I think they're popular. What? Hold on a second.
Fair enough. I get to go off now entirely about I don't know. To be honest, I've seen one scene from The Boys, and I knew that I couldn't swallow that pill. It was the airplane scene from season 1. That's not a show that I want to watch just because it's depressing. What it is.
I understand that, not wanting to watch a depressing show. That's why I haven't watched it. But that's...
Well, that's why I find a lot of stuff is these days. A lot of it's just people are oh, BoJack Horseman is such a great depiction of depression, and I'm I don't want to watch that. I can experience that now.
Yeah, that's a personal preference thing, though. I don't think it's fair to criticize. You could criticize it from your own perspective, but I'm still gonna say that people who make shows like that love like the human condition. I think is a better way to say it. Like that's what they're interested in. It's funny because someone says you unless you're Matt and Trey, in which case you just make fun of people, and that's the South Park writers, right?
Yeah.
Because even the South Park writers, they're the same. They're just doing something different with it. They love the human condition and they love studying it, and they're putting that into comedy, which is an entirely different skill. But it's the same. It comes from the same place.
I think the South Park writers, they're very smart in the sense that they love laughing. They love laughing at people, but they also love laughing with people. And I think that's what makes them so strong is that they make these jokes and they hit everyone. Like they hit everyone equally, including themselves, like their own demographics. Like I'm pretty sure, like because like they're like big libertarian types, but they make fun of the libertarians because libertarians are hilarious.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I know this is like a tangent, but I think it's very important to remember that even when you're just describing things, really think about who, and why, and not just what is there. And doing stuff like saying that this character is obviously repulsed and reviled, he's not used to this. That's good. But if you're going to expand on it and, kind of time with the character study stuff we talked about last week, I should have said this last week. But you have to understand that, like, every good writer gets people. Like not to a psychological level. You don't have to be Sigmund Freud, but they kind of get people.
Yeah, there's a base,
and that's why good writers read and good writers talk.
And if writers don't understand people, like writing about humans might not be the case you want to take. Write about crazy androids thousands of years in the future. Go. Yeah. Even then, Yoko Taro.
Oh man, I'm using so many filler words right now, and that disappoints myself. But the point I'm trying to make is, darn it. Okay, no, I had this. What was I thinking about? I'm doing great. I'm a streamer. So a lot of I remembered a lot of anime. They just depict people like nobody's ever talked to a human before, and you know who they attract? People who never talk to humans. Yeah, that's why otaku are such like a thing, is because it's just this self-perpetuating cycle of people who don't talk to people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Steins Gate. Steins Gate is such a 1 in a million lightning in a bottle chance, and a writer who very much does not talk to women, but wrote women pretty well.
Now give an example of a more current anime that I'm actually really enjoying is Elena the Wandering Witch, which I might recommend to you, Molly. It surprised me with how it didn't quite go as far as I wanted it to, and how it handled like certain things. Okay, to give an example, in the very first episode, the entire crux of it is the main character wants to become a witch so that she can go out and journey the world. So she actually passes like the exams to become an apprentice with flying colors. She outpaces everyone in the class. She's like the youngest person to become an apprentice. But no one wants to apprentice her because every single witch is like condescending. Like they don't like her because she's a whatchamacallit, and to become a witch, she needs to apprentice under a witch. She finds one that will apprentice her out in the forest, one that's just passing through, apparently, just for a time being. And she apprentices under her for about a month, after which she learns nothing. And at the end of it, the teacher's like, all right, time for a test. And the test is to have a magical fight with me. And the main character holds up pretty well, but still gets her ass absolutely handed to her. And finally, after getting her ass kicked, she just has this emotional breakdown where it's like, you haven't taught me for months. All I've been doing is the errands for you. I've been cooking for you. I've been basically just your slave for the last month.
Man, I loved The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, hey, I've been an absolute slave for you this last month. And, you've taught me nothing. And, what happens is the teacher realizes she's went overboard and tries to cheer her up, and nothing is working cheering her up. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, usually this is where like you have like the hug come in and the heartfelt apology, and the hug did come in. But I was surprised when the main character actually started to resist the hug. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You just beat the shit out of me. Why are you trying to give me physical affection? And the thing that
by the way,
what?
Someone mentioned Owl House in chat, to which I have to say, in this stream we call it Little Woke Academia, and I'm not going to have any other options.
You okay? I will give you credence on bashing She-Ra because you watched it, but you need to watch Owl House before you can criticize it.
Anyway, let's move on to the next one before we get even more off topic. By the way, I remembered I had this little NYPD patch that an officer gave me once, so I'm gonna put that here because this is all crime scene related.
But just to finish up on my Elena thoughts, is that my issues with Elena is that she eventually does give into the hug and the deep conversation and such. So like I had a moment of like, this might actually go somewhere super interesting, and it ultimately kind of did. But that show is interesting. I'm actually very intrigued. I'd like to see more people watching it. It's good. All right, so the second prompt I got a text.
Okay, should we do JJ's?
I think next on my list was, let's see, who is next in our pins? Going all the way to, I think next up is Mupa, actually.
All right, let's do Mupa.
Yeah.
By the way, girlfriend in chat, I guess, but I don't know what she was trying to say there.
She's like, she's sending you code. That is,
sending
bring me a sandwich.
Well, she's far away, so I can't do that.
Well, you can.
Yes, we are always accepting submissions if we could get through them, but we have a lot.
Yes. Also, your screen is your screen.
You can hear the beautiful sounds of Manhattan behind me.
Okay, so here we go. This is from Mupa. Varian pinched hard on the bridge of his nose, trying to keep his head from splitting open. Sorry for the delay, Mr. Varian. Sorry for the delay, Mr. Varian. We expect to be on our way again soon, once they have the tower fixed. The captain. Breathe. Breath like mouthwash. Breath like mouthwash. Varian waved him off. If he tried to open his eyes, all he saw was white shapes with blue shadows. I'm sorry, I'm just listening to the background. I'm just hearing all that.
I can't do anything about it, I'm sorry.
It's fine, it's fine. So first issue here is tensing. If he tried to open his eyes, all he saw, wouldn't that be all he would see?
Yeah.
Yeah, all he would
all
see
he'd see
would be white shapes with blue shadows. Want the shredded wires.
Hey, I'm streaming here.
Hey, I'm streaming. Thank you, Yannis. Yannis. I'm not entirely sure. How do you handle onomatopoeia? I use it very sparingly.
Yeah, I almost never use it. But I think this is a fine way to do it. Although seeing it like went the shredded wires feels very like picture book.
Yeah, it does. I'm not sure how to feel about it. Mupa, you're okay on this. Just not entirely sure where it lines up in my own writing philosophies.
Yeah, but I think it's a preference thing, so I'm not going to dock points.
This doesn't seem. Maybe you need a comma after kish, but like that's about all I could probably see being a grammatical issue. Footsteps left, right, and forward. Muffled boots on insulated flooring. Varian's ears kept rotating every direction on his head.
Wait, is he like a dog?
Maybe he's like a dog person. This might be like an alien. I mean, his name is Varian. Okay. That's a very alien name. Burnt metal and rubber stung his nostrils. Clang, ting! Some ruined paneling was being removed. I think that one you definitely need a period for, I think.
Yeah. This feels... I see this repeated a lot throughout the piece, which does feel very like you're going down the checklist and being like, see, I put in the hearing. There's better ways to integrate that. Using onomatopoeia every now and then is fine, but when it's like this much, There's
it
better
could
ways.
be
To
speaking to the character in some.
Okay,
regard.
he is a wolf person. It has been confirmed.
Oh, it has. Yeah, Wunderbar. Okay, so that actually, I think that would speak to, because like it's not that. I could see it being like it's not voluntary. It's not like he's listening to this. Like he's just hearing it. So it being like abrupt and kind of startling could be like kind of part of the characterization. Someone bumped his shoulder entering the room, and his tail bristled. But there wasn't another wall he could lean against for shelter. There was a chemical smell of cheap spray paint further away, opposite from him. I don't think you need the comma there after paint. The room had...
No, because it's spray paint further away, opposite from him. So that does need a comma.
Oh, okay. The room had poor ventilation. All the warm bodies heating the space. Click, a camera shutter. A cop taking pics. Clackety clack. Someone with many feet walking through, possibly an insectoid alien. Maybe, okay, for that one, when it comes to character, if this person knows what the insectoid aliens are called, like if he knows their names, or if there's like a proper noun of some sort, would recommend using it for that. Person, what are you sick over?
I think he's just typing emojis. Let's ignore him.
Oh, turtle drink. Good on you. Drink your turtle. Give your turtles drinks. Don't drink your turtles. There.
Make sure to keep your reptiles hydrated. Happy Frog.
The technicians and janitors were complaining. Investigators were theorizing. They all reeked of body odor and coffee and detergent. Varian's ears flattened when the radio buzzed and keened with a transmission. Buzzed and keened with a transmission. I think you could. That's like kind of redundant. You could just keep it buzzed.
Yeah.
Gruff words spoken, beep and click. Orders given, and many footsteps at once echoing through the hall, all and down the stairs. Clacking came closer. That last.
We're using
one,
the word clack a lot. I don't know if this is a character thing. It's definitely writing third person limited.
Yeah, the clacking, that last
it.
one I think is the odd man out right now, because it's like it's not italicized, but it's not like a coherent sentence necessarily. Might want to workshop that bottom line. I've just received word that the saboteurs may have been detained not far from here, and the technicians have assured me that the wave control tower will be operational again momentarily. Oh, gruff voice. Breath like gum and meat. As police chief, I'm greatly embarrassed that this is happening in my district, and that your official military business was delayed. We understand, officer, said the captain. Varian grunted. What's wrong with him? Apparently he has some tech implanted in his brain, and when the gamma wave suddenly hit, it really screwed with it. He has a headache. He's had a headache ever since. Does he need to see a physician? The words had barely left his mouth when Varian said, Don't take me to the doctor. The chip is fixing itself. He opened one eye, the misty lump that was the chief gaining color. I'll be fine. Okay, so yeah, you go.
I think that the idea is right, but it feels more like I said, it's very checklist. You know, like you do the onomatopoeia thing several times, you do the breath thing multiple times, and it feels like there's better ways to integrate senses into this.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think like first the dialogue. And this is actually big for me. I'm big on. I know we're talking about description, but you have a lot of dialogue in here that I like where you're going with it. I'm big on dialogue. I'm big on having characters sound distinct and trying to be themselves. Like, why a police chief saying, "Does he need to see a physician?" Who honestly, raise of hands, show of hands, who uses the word physician in their regular daily life? I don't. So the fact of the matter is, you would probably want him to say doctor in that circumstance. Apparently he has some tech implanted in his brain. Like, is this a guy? Like, I'm not sure on the familiarity between Varian and the captain, they don't seem super familiar with each other, but if they're supposed to be familiar with each other, he wouldn't be talking so coldly. If they are familiar with if they're not familiar with each other, this works okay, I guess. But keen is like a high-pitched sound. Then just choose one or the other, because buzz is kind of low and droning. Keen is high-pitched and wailing. I don't know if both fit in the same sentence work very well. I get what you were going for, because it could be like the low and then sound like going on with that. But like, I think the problem is it doesn't fit with the flow of everything else that you've described. You've been using a lot of, I don't know. It sticks out. It sticks out, and I'm trying to think of how to fix it, but I can't.
Yeah. By the way, I think we should move on to the next one. I want to see how many of these we could get through, because we usually just spend too much time on one or the other.
Yeah. Problem is, the next one I had lined up was from Anime AK 116, and he didn't give me proper permissions. When you send these things, guys, you got to give us proper permissions. Let me try it again. Anime AK. Yeah, no, I can't get the permissions. So, Anime AK, if you can give us the permissions, that'd be great, but we gotta skip over it. Next is William Wimser, who was impressed that he managed to keep it under count this time.
Our boy.
Do you want to read this one?
Yeah. Let's get some water.
Yeah,
you can answer Boopa's question in chat, I guess.
Oh. I mean, if Varian's having a serious headache because of tech in his brain, might that not be worth explaining in full? Yes, but if he's familiar with him, it's like it'd be more like, yeah, he's got some tech in his head that got fried during the gamma rays. He'll be fine in just a minute or something like that. Like a lot more casual, not just apparently, because this guy would probably know, especially if Varian told him. It's not apparently. It's like, yeah, unless they're super not familiar, it's just like, you know, unless they met like that day. So, I get where you're coming from.
Anyway.
Yes.
There's something wrong with the lights. None of the overhead panels lit up when I flipped them on, and the emergency strip lights lining the ground are dim. Both conspire to leave the corridor wreathed in a murky darkness that blurred everything together in a single indistinct mass. Just bright enough to see, too dark to tell what the hell you were looking at. My flashlight was no help, the old thing struggling to illuminate even a small section of the floor before me. A smarter man would have gone back for a better one, but I didn't want to waste any more time. This whole haunted house experience had already eaten up enough, and I wasn't letting it have any more. I think you're missing a word there.
Oh, yeah. What was it? This whole haunted experience was... No, I think he missing a space. It's anymore, not anymore. Like, if this whole haunted house experience had already eaten up enough, and I wasn't letting it eat up anymore.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about time.
I see.
Oh.
Harper better have a damn good reason for calling me down here. I pressed on, keeping a hand pressed against the wall as a guide. My footsteps sounded loud in the cramped space, echoing for what sounded like miles. Miles. A steady tack of boots against metal, sharp as gunshots and steady as a metronome. This is really described. I would actually almost say a little, like, very intensely described.
I think it's the present tense.
Yeah. It's very actively written.
Yeah. I'm not typically a fan of that. Like this is good. I'm not typically a fan of it, though. It's not usually my preferred style. I like past... I like... Is it past perfect, I think it is, I usually write in?
That's like just a preference thing. This is good though.
Yeah, this is good. I'm not saying this is bad by any measure. I'm just saying
it's definitely creatively written. Like, you know, it's creative writing. You should be coming up with interesting ways to describe things.
Yeah.
It was enough to briefly drown out the sound of motors running in the walls. Vent fans, I realized, trying to cycle something out of the air. Clearly with little success, as the stench of whatever it was hit my nostrils like a battering ram. What the hell, that should have a comma. What the hell, comma, Harper? Anyway, I mutter, reaching up to plug my nose. It smells metallic, like copper, mixed with something else. Something that smells like shit. The hell has Harper been doing down there? The fans grow louder.
Brief aside,
what?
because I just wanted to make this note. The when it comes down to like the whole comma you just suggested there, what the hell, Harper? I'm always in the two minds with that because it depends on how it's being said that I have issue with. Because like, what the hell, Harper? There's kind of a natural little pause when you're saying that casually, but then like, what the hell, Harper? Like if you're selling fast and intense, I'm always kind of in like a split mindset whether or not to put a comma there or not, with the intensity and the speed of which something is being said.
Well,
Dialogue gets very messy for me.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I just wanted to make that aside because I think you're right. It needs a comma here because he's not being super rushed with it. But I'm just like, in a circumstance where like there is a big rush and a big kind of yelling going on, you might not need a comma depending on how you portray. Like if you give a question mark exclamation point, you might be able to convey that without a comma.
Yeah.
Please continue.
The fans grow louder as I carry on, growing to rival, but not quite drown out my footsteps. The steady rhythm continued unabated, ringing out into the thick darkness. Tack, 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 splish. I stop, flicking my flashlight down at the break in the sound. That's how I like automatopoeia to be used, where it kind of comes back. But
yeah,
William uses a lot of that kind of repetition, which is it's just his writing style and it's cool. But not everybody has to do that. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
A dark pool sits at the floor before me, larger across than my light can reach. Curious, I lean down for a better look. The smell only growing worse as a result. It's coming from the pool, but I still can't place what it is. I dip my fingers in the pool, finding the liquid cool and viscous to the touch. I love the word viscous because it reminds me of thermals and fluids class. Leaking coolant, maybe? No, there'd be more obvious damage if that were the case. I pull my light closer, trying to get a better look. Against my skin, I realize the liquid isn't black as I'd first thought, but red. Blood red. Panic begins to build in the back of my head. Pieces starting to fall into a shape I'd rather not put together. I like that. I love it when you have a common phrase and then like a thought attached to that phrase. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm stealing your brain, William. This is very nice.
What?
I'm gonna steal his brain. Like literally, I'm just
steal
gonna
his brain.
Just transplant it. I'm gonna keep it in a jar next to my desk. That I can just be like, I need a better description here. Hey, William.
For some reason, it crossed my mind that I still don't know where Harper was. No, I still didn't know where Harper was. A new sound intruded, a soft and unassuming drop hitting my ears with the intensity of a scream. It sounded again and again, steady as my footsteps and twice as loud. Shifting my light, I spot the culprit. A steady drip of liquid falling into the pool from above. More drops as I watched 3, 4, 5, one after the other, my heart leaping further up my throat with each one. Mustering my courage, I look up. Up through the void full of blood and nothingness. Up to the ceiling with its shadows that light cannot pierce. Sorry, that's a little Shakespearean for my taste. Up to the vent from which red flows. Up to what is left of Harper. Very, very poetic at the end there. Also, I this is like, I never said it had to be a gory murder.
But like,
it had to be a crime scene.
Yeah, I'm. Although I'm all good for that, and actually, one thing I appreciate the like he didn't use any of the cliches for blood.
No, he didn't, which is impressive.
Which was kind of like one of my critiques, not critiques, but one of my.
That was one of the things I was actually kind of hoping that we'd see come up.
Yeah.
Is that we'd have people kind of challenging those kind of, you know, cliched descriptions.
The blood smelled like cotton candy. Wait, what? Can you imagine that if blood smelled like cotton candy? It'd be weird. Thoughtful Punk.
That'd be whack. I wouldn't want to eat cotton candy.
Favorite VTuber. Gone down the rabbit hole for the last few months.
This is my favorite VTuber.
Yeah, that's unhealthy, man. I find Gura really cute, and I find Corona very cute, but I don't actually watch like VTubers actively. I typically watch like those little like highlight clips that pop up on Twitter occasionally, where it's like just funny, weird things happen. So that's. I'm not really a very big fan of VTubers, even though I find them they're entertaining. I can understand why people like them. Floof is cooking curry and rice. Dope. I was gonna say
it's important.
Yeah, with like if blood smelled like, it's the reason I can't eat popcorn. I can't eat popcorn because I'm reminded of the smell of theater bathrooms. Yeah, popcorn smells like theater piss, and now you can't unsmell it. Join me in my pain.
You worked at a theater for quite a while, didn't you?
No, I didn't actually. I've never worked
Oh,
at a theater. I worked at an airport.
Ah.
Yeah, I worked at an office building and an airport. Regardless, theater piss has a very distinct smell. Being familiar with a lot of different types of bathroom at this point, I will tell you, theaters are distinct. And you are all now worse for knowing about it.
In my 26 years, I've learned a lot about distinct types of bathrooms.
Excuse me, I am a very old and ripened 27. Yes,
Anyway,
distinguished
William, as
bathrooms.
usual, very strong work, and always looking forward to your next submission.
Yes, this is
Right.
excellent work. The last one that we have actually available to us is Touching Red by JJ.
You're anonymous wombat on this. I love wombats. They have armored asses that they use to crush their enemies, which is not fun fact.
You're an anonymous dolphin.
There's a lot of unfun facts about dolphins.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you've committed, like, basically war crimes.
Yeah.
People say, okay, brief tangent. People that are misanthropic about humanity look to the animal kingdom and realize they're horrible, horrible creatures. Anyone that's like, oh, we'd be so much more peaceful or so much more better if we just returned to nature. No! Oh my god! Monkeys have actual warfare, thank god. Like, monkeys have, like, faction warfare, tribalistic warfare. We don't want that. Return to monkey is terrifying.
Return to monkey. The sports version of Return to Monkey is Return to Hockey. That's why you never hear hockey players getting into trouble.
Yeah, but that's because they can beat the crap out of each other on the court. Like,
exactly.
Like, that's... I really don't like how is it pussified? Is the word pussification? Is that the word I'm thinking of?
Anyway, let's get to JJ's.
Yeah, let's ignore the confused word in my brain. Although we're blazing through these. We're barely like 50 minutes in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was still some stuff from a couple of weeks ago that we never got to.
Yeah, we did. True. You want to take this one too? Because yeah, two at a time.
Here you go, miss. Stella, 1 pumpernickel and 1 sourdough. Freshly baked.
You don't need a period after miss.
Okay, this is minor. But if you write out the full title, you don't need the period, because miss is a full word.
Yeah.
Here you go, Miss Stella. At like ms.stella. 1 pumpernickel and 1 sourdough, freshly baked. A gruff voice echoed in the small shop, the crinkle of bread wrappers colliding with a register table. Stella took a whiff of the air in front of her, the sweet and earthy aroma of the pumpernickel mixed with the slightly sour scent of the sourdough, the strengths of the two overpowering the blend of smells within the shop. Bread. These smell wonderful. My dad will probably try to pay you extra when he tastes them, Stella smiled, as she placed a couple bills onto the table in front of her. She heard the rustle of the aged money. I almost read that as the aged monkey, because we've been talking about monkeys. Monkey! The aged monkey! Monkey is my favorite Attack on Titan villain.
There's a monkey?
Assuming the banker was counting the wad of cash. Yeah, well, he can keep his extra pay, and I'll settle for him not calling my bluffs on poker night. Been winning a bit too much off my mistakes lately, chuckled the baker. You don't need to capitalize that.
What?
Just
capitalize what?
Lowercase the baker. The click and slide of the register sounding under his hearty voice. The bag bread made a slight crinkle as it was. This is minor, but this is the second time you've mentioned the crinkle of something, which is just kind of like a redundant.
Thesaurus, very handy.
Thesaurus. Monkeys can be exchanged for goods and services. Well, what if I want bads and disservices?
Then you trade apes.
I like that the baker has a distinct voice, because when you're writing short stories, it's important for just making characters distinct. She reached a hand towards the counter, groping a bit for her order. Please don't use groping in this context. Before finally feeling her hand touch the paper surface of the wrapping. She picked up the bread and tucked it under her arm. Stella felt the eyes of the baker staring at her. I kind of like what you're going for here. It's a bit over described because she's literally just grabbing some bread.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if anyone, how many people saw my Spice and Wolf video, but literally I had this entire point talking about like how intense the music was and how it can make anything normal seem super intense. And so I literally just filmed myself like rushing from the study down to my fridge to grab a drink. And it was like super intense, or at least it was trying to be super intense with the music behind it. And that's what this feels like. It feels like grab the bread, got the bread.
Which we did ask you to work on description, so I'm not gonna like dock you too many points about it, but this isn't really the way you do description. You don't describe things that I don't really care for. Like my brain wants to skip over the fact that you're grabbing bread off of a counter and go to the part that I know is going to involve murder.
It's like this is fine because again, as part of the process, overdoing it is just as valuable as underdoing it when it comes to a learning exercise. Especially because like overdoing I think is better because like then you can pare it back.
The only bad mistakes are the ones you keep making.
I would even argue that like those can often be like the best mistakes, the ones you keep making, because then like the more and more you learn the solution, you can beat it out of yourself more effectively.
That's fair, but the point I'm trying to make is the word like the only bad mistakes are the ones you're not learning from.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. Wow, a meow in chat. Everybody, return the meows in chat.
M for meow.
M for
and monkey. M for monkey.
And monkey.
M for monkey.
M for
or
monkey.
M for meow. One or the other, people. You can't choose both.
We'll know.
Okay, so where were we?
You know what I'm about to ask, right? The baker questioned. And you know how I'll answer. I don't need an escort home. I'm perfectly fine walking by myself. Stella assured confidently. Plus, it's hardly a far walk. That's a really good exchange. That says a lot.
Yeah, it's a good exchange. Assured confidently. I mean, like, I guess you could do it differently.
Assured confidently is kind of redundant. It's like saying I closely scrutinized something. Like it's kind of in the second word that I did it that way.
Yeah, it's like the I'm not big on adverbs to begin with. They're sort of like they feel like I had them beaten out of me by my poetry teacher. Oddly enough, she did not like descriptive paragraphs with adverbs in the short story class I took with her. And she very much like, you know, why not just use one really good word instead of two kind of good words? So I think assured is already a really good, because assured, unless specifically there's something about the assuredness that is not firm, like, then you could even show that, like Stella assured, but she trailed off at the end. Like you could actually have like described kind of physically how the language is traveling to try and change the meaning of it. But I think assured already implies a level of confidence.
Yeah. Stella could hear the baker let out a condescending sigh. Just as stubborn as your pops. Better get on out of here before the lunch rush then. You have a good rest of your day. I'll be sure to tell my dad to go easy on you next poker night. Stella smiled as she extended her walking stick and started walking out of the door. With a little bit of redundancy there, she extended her walking stick. You just have to reword that sentence. Walking out of the door with careful steps into the open city sidewalk. The atmosphere of the open streets swept over Stella's senses as she walked onto the sidewalk. Again, you're using sidewalk twice, and you've used walk 3 times.
Also, big thing, I'm not a fan of, especially in a more casual situation, the idea of like the all-encompassing, like it washed over the senses. Like that may sound good. That's a good place to start from, like it washed over the senses, but then you have to stop, go back, and actually describe what is washing over them if it's relevant to what's going on. With the only exception being like if like you're encountering something completely alien to both the reader and the character, like someone stepped onto an alien spaceship and like all of a sudden his senses were assaulted. and then you have like a semicolon or a colon that goes into describing what exactly is assaulting them, like what senses are being assaulted exactly. Because like just saying my senses were assaulted, like that seems kind of like too broad to care. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. There is such a thing as kind of I think I mentioned this last like a couple times ago, hyperactive writing, which is when just like everything's super intense.
Yeah.
Anyway. The sharp smell of gasoline and the chorus of rumbling engines that mixed with the hurried footfalls of the people filled the winter-cooled air. Stella merged with the rhythmic steps of the foot traffic, steadily making her way towards home. Stella... This is a lot of subject-verb-object here going. Stella did this, Stella did that. Stella. It's a nice name. It's actually pretty popular these days among babies.
This is the first one that really, I think, cropped up that really hit me as like, yeah, that you're repeating that framework too much.
Yeah.
So so far it's been okay. It's been okay in that regards.
Yeah, the dialogue's strong. I'll give him or her that.
Who did write this?
Stella soon reached the line of townhouses that was her neighborhood. Since she was born blind, Stella had memorized where her home was amongst the line after living there for 17 years. How did she know they're townhouses?
Well, if she's lived there for 17 years, someone would probably have told her they're townhouses.
That's fair.
And yeah, it's JJ. It's JJ. So yeah, the good work, him.
I'm being picky. Counting each entrance she passed with the clatter of her walking stick that probed the ground in front of her, Stella eventually reached her residence. Home sweet home, Stella thought happily, as she carefully strode up the stairs towards the door. As soon as she placed a hand on the knob, the door slowly opened, a stale draft hitting her face. Could have sworn I closed the door when I left, Stella pondered. She carefully made her way.
Pause here because like I wanted to go with the descriptions here, and I can really get into it. The door slowly opened. That's an okay sentence. You could make it more powerful.
Yeah, because this is like the turning point where she realizes something's wrong.
As soon as she placed a hand on the knob, the door creaked open. Like creaked gives a sound. It gives us a sound with it. And then you could describe like a stale draft hitting her face as the latch effortlessly swung loose. Like you could make that, you can make it clear what's going on. Like you can basically describe it being opened slowly by how you kind of pull out the sentence, if that makes any sense. You can extend it. You don't need to say slowly. You can express slowly through how you kind of keep things going.
Yeah, but sorry for assuming she wouldn't know they were townhomes. I was just thinking like, how would she? That's on me. My bad.
She's blind, not dumb. Okay, all right, guys. Don't.
Look, all I'm saying is if I lived like. Like the architectural style of where I lived wouldn't mean that much to me if I couldn't say that. That's all I'm saying. But of course, I wouldn't know. Yeah.
We were at, I think.
I could have sworn I closed the door when I left. Stella pondered. She carefully made her way into the house, shutting and locking the door behind her. Right as she shut the door, a strong smell of an iron. That should be the strong smell of iron.
Yeah. Also, this is one of those cliches. Iron, copper, those are strong blood smells. Also, you forgot to capitalize.
I think even William used one of those, but
there's the S on she at the very beginning of this that he didn't capitalize.
Yeah.
Simple typo.
It was like walking into an iron mill.
Ooh, no.
No, don't do that.
Like I said,
okay.
Repetition only when it's intentional.
I totally buy that she asked about the architectural style of her house. I don't even buy that a normal person has been in an iron mill.
Maybe her dad's an iron worker. Which actually would make less sense because then the house would smell like iron generally, wouldn't it?
All the time, yeah.
You would take it home with him.
Stella took a few hesitant steps further to the hall, her walking stick gliding over the floor as it creaked beneath her weight. A few steps into the house, her foot slightly slipped on something slick, Loved that that alliteration. Covering the ground.
Like, yeah, this is another instance where I would complain about adverb, but like that works. That works because you're just like doing all the alliteration stuff. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, because blood smells like iron. We know it smells like iron or copper. It smells like metal. I just it's just kind of a cliche. It's not a terrible thing to use. It's
Yeah,
descriptive
what
for
would we
sure.
replace instead of iron mill? How would we word that instead of iron mill?
I I mean metallic, coppery, silvery. Like there's all. It's kind of tough because
well,
blood
like it was like walking
smells
into
metallic.
it was like walking through a construction site. There's a lot of metals in construction sites.
I don't know. I think it's fine. I think we're overthinking this. It is a cliche, but it's hard to think of another way to describe it.
Well, no, it's the iron mill section of it. If she hasn't been to an iron mill,
Oh, the iron mill section of it.
yeah, I using iron is fine. Like it's a cliche, but it's fine because it works. You know, cliches.
It works, and there's also not much of an alternative.
Yeah, cliches aren't bad. They're just things that work and are frequent. The
It smells like cotton candy.
It smells like cotton candy.
Thanks, Brady.
But instead of an iron mill, she could reference back to that one time she went through a construction through a
or just walked by a construction site if she's in a city.
site, or like tripped into something metal, like the one time she bashed her nose in on a steel chair, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, cause you know,
Yeah,
she's blind, she could
tuned
trip.
with her other senses, obviously, so she would know that kind of thing.
So yeah, where were we?
Yeah. I want to say her foot slightly slipped on something slick again. Stella staggered slightly into it. Okay, you slightly again. That repetition. Into a nearby wall, a thick, wet substance hitting her skin. The metallic stench becoming stronger to her senses. Did Dad spill something all over the house? Stella questioned to herself. You know.
You're roboting. You're roboting. 1 minute.
The Stella question to. You don't need the Stella question to because it's already both by the way.
Yeah, you don't need that. Yeah, sorry, you roboted there for a second. What does monkey smell like? Have you ever been to a zoo? That.
Yeah, monkey.
Banan.
The most intense, like, so when I was at school and we had Smash Bros. Club, which I never played Smash Bros. At, it was usually in this big kind of open space in the school's union. But there was one day where that space was taken up by somebody else. So the Smash Bros. Club went into a much smaller closed room upstairs, and it was one of the most intense smells.
Oh God.
That's what monkey smells like.
Ugh.
I would imagine it smells like unwashed people.
That sounds like concentrated con funk.
Yes. Once I went to a convention and got the flu. That was fun.
Oh God, yeah, no, they're terrible. They're super spreader events. Those places.
I had Bell's palsy. I couldn't move my face for a month.
Oh my God.
Half my face was just like frozen.
Well, that's terrible because like eating is a pain then.
It was. I had to like do like this when I was drinking.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Thankfully, it wasn't for too long. I like how one of my friends goes, "Oh God, this story," because I do tell it sometimes. Like I've told it multiple times.
Smells like Team Spirit. Smells like incel. I remember that night.
She walked into the room. It smelled like Teen Spirit. I want to see Brady write something.
Like taste. Describe it like taste. Okay. So where were we? Stella gingerly, I think.
Stella gingerly stepped into the slick mess on the floor, making her way into the kitchen. We're using slick a lot as well.
Yeah, slick,
she went.
Gotta tone that down a bit.
She went to place the loaves of bread onto the kitchen. She went to place the loaves of bread onto the kitchen table, but her walking stick collided with a solid mass. A loud squelch echoed in through. You need in or through. You can't have both there. The silent halls of the house. Oh no, this is just like Adam Torres. A feeling of unease settled onto Stella. Something wasn't right. Stella prodded the mass with her stick again. The mass making
Might I
sounds.
make a suggestion? A feeling of unease settled onto Stella. That's following immediately a loud squelch. So it's another subject verb. Instead, just unease settled onto Stella. Just cold, clean, and it makes it sound a little more intense. So, please continue.
She pulled up the point of her walking stick into her palms. The point was covered in a similar feeling liquid that was on the wall, except it was warm to the touch. She brought her palm to the face, the metal-like smell becoming even stronger. Dad, are you home? Stella stammered tensely. Again, you don't need that descriptor, because by the dialogue, it's clear she's already stammering and she's already tense. No answer rang through the still-aired halls. Stella could feel her heart starting to race. A chill ran down her back as she steadily started to piece the smell of iron in the warm liquid. That could just be rewarded.
Yeah, this last paragraph looks a little messy.
Stella started to feel around the kitchen wall, searching for the wired phone. Suddenly, she felt a mix of hard, cold metal and the tepid liquid she held in her palms come across her neck.
Ugh.
Ugh. Well, that's sad.
Yeah. Well, thanks for depressing. I guess we did kind of ask for the crimes. Well, we didn't say it had to be a murder.
Dude, you could have been a theft.
Arson.
Arson. Tax fraud.
Tax fraud. Oh my God, that should be the next challenge. Description with tax fraud.
Yeah. No. No, because I grew up in a household with a securities lawyer.
All right. Well,
I don't want to hear about taxes.
Great work there. A little rough here or there, but I think you got a solid thing going on there. Especially the dialogue, very sharp on the dialogue. Which again,
yeah, really sharp on dialogue.
That wasn't really the focus of what we were looking for, but you did a good job with it anyway. So, maybe keep that in the back of our minds. We don't actually plan out our challenges, but maybe dialogue should be next.
That's a good one, because that's where a lot of people falter. Like, people who can be good at descriptions, like we mentioned the first guy, Izanagi, he struggles a lot with, he's good at descriptions and then starts to falter when it hits dialogue, and he's not the only one. A lot of people, it's just hard to get to that personal level of things. Yeah. But it's really important, because writing is, I've mentioned before, it's all about making people care. And you make people care with people, or aliens, or animals, or whatever else.
This is why I really like. I mean, I like friggin' Christopher Nolan films. I love Christopher Nolan films. But if you actually sit down and look at the dialogue, it's very utilitarian. A lot of the dialogue is incredibly utilitarian. A lot of the characters are very savvy to analyzing other characters as opposed to actually being other characters. I think that's one reason that the Joker really stands out in The Dark Knight, is because a lot of people are talking about the Batman, and they're talking about Bruce Wayne, and they're talking about their feelings, and they're not written very distinctly. It's very much banking on the performances to carry the dialogue into uniqueness. And that's where I think the Joker, ad-libs a little bit more and creates him, like Heath Ledger ad-libbed a little bit more, creating more of a unique character and voice for his character. So, that gives an example of someone I think Christopher Nolan is great at everything else, but dialogue, not his strong suit. What are you looking at?
I'm looking for that fanfic that Star sent us that we never got to.
Oh, is it Flickering Candles?
I think so.
Yeah, I have it right here.
And Star is cool, so it would be unfair to her if we didn't use this extra time.
Yeah. We also have a Remnant of a Rose that was sent in to us by someone else, but I don't think we're going to get to that. Especially because that's 49 chapters. I don't want to don't want to hop into that. I'm going to close all these. So yes, let's go into Flickering Candles by Star. Okay.
All right, where is it?
Oh, I just sent
it. Oh, okay, you sent it to me.
Yeah. Waiting for you to appear on the side. Loading. Okay, I can't. Okay, I guess it's not going to show you. That's fine.
This is a long one. It's like a big project of hers, which is why we put it kind of on the back burner.
Yeah. So let's. Yeah, chapter 1 is about 4 pages. We can get through 4 pages. We'll go through chapter 1, see what we can do for you. Especially because when it comes to writing the... Oh, there you are. See, you are a anonymous wolf. Oh, okay, we're going boring again. Thank you, Google. The reason why chapter 1 is usually super important to a story, because that's what hooks most people. So if you don't get chapter 1 right, you're not going to get a lot of readers. It's why I'm actually, full disclosure, my book, even though I really love my first book, I'm not super happy with the very first story in it, Sparks. If I could go back, I might do Sparks a little bit differently than I did, because I'm not ultimately very satisfied with how it came out. I feel it's actually a little bit clunky around the edges. So it can get very important. And I think that might be part of an issue, is that people read that and they're not super impressed by it, because it's actually one of my oldest pieces of writing. Well, at least at the time of its release. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 1. I gotta find the voice for this character. So you want to be a huntress? Mayumi glanced up, her dark eyes staring back at the steady gaze of a man sitting across from her. He pushes a teacup towards her, offering an easy smile. A single light hangs above their heads, plural, casting heavy shadows across his thin face. In this lighting, the tired canyons and valleys that had settled across his countenance stand out. I like that description. Mayumi would normally feel sorry for him if sitting at this very table hadn't been the cause of so much stress. She ran through the care she had taken in adjusting herself. She ran through the care she had taken in adjusting herself before this meeting to calm her nerves. Okay, that's a little weird. Why would she run through that? As she reminded herself, you're looking for a way, as she reminded herself of the care she had taken, she's trying to basically readjust herself back from being sympathetic to him. Ivan's words rang in her ears. So unless you look the part, playing it will be much easier. Before the interview, she had pulled her dark hair into a ponytail. No hair out of place. I would say not a follicle out of place, but that's just me. I like to be a little...
I think hair's fine.
Yeah, hair's fine. It's just like you have hair and then hair again. It's one of those things. Yeah, my brain works like that. I can't stand seeing that repetition. I know that's...
I think some repetition's okay if the alternative is just kind of awkward and weird.
Yeah. I don't think follicle would fit quite as well here. So it's like I'm two minds. I hate being of that. Special care had been given to the long, bushy tail that now twitches uneasily behind her. The brown fur that covered it groomed just for the interview. That morning, Pixie had helped Mayumi ensure that her outfit was on straight and without any unnecessary creases. That hadn't stopped Mayumi from fidgeting and adjusting her cropped jacket and shorts. The crop jacket and shorts that made up her battle gear right up until she had sat down for the interview. She had hoped to wear something to cover up the crisscrossing scars that decorated her skin, but she didn't have anything better. Now her scars were the last thing on her mind. It was too occupied with Ozpin's questions. I think maybe preoccupied is probably the word you want to go with. Do you think preoccupied over occupied?
That was a nice way to integrate getting the outfit in there, because I know a lot of people struggle with like totally breaking up the prose outfit and then going back.
Yeah, but I think you want to use the word choice preoccupied there. I think it's a stronger choice for that, because I was like confused there for a minute, like mind and it.
This reminds me, I can't wait for Ruby to start this week, because now people will actually care about these streams.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be fun because like then we can do streams based on the Ruby episodes.
That
That'd
would be really fun if it's like there's something. Okay, so it's Ruby. Obviously, the writing's gonna get fucked up somehow. We take something from the writing that got fucked up in that episode, and that's where we get the prompts.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a good idea. We'd be like, okay, look at this episode and do this.
Yeah.
Did you do? Yes, yes, I do. I would like to help people. She, don't need a capital S on that. She rests her hands in her lap, breathing a sigh of relief. For a moment, she feels transparent, as if each lie, each act of this play she was about to perform, was going to be exposed. She felt as if right then and there she would fumble in her lies and disappoint Ivan, Pixie, and everyone she's ever known. Fumble her in her lies. Again, like I'm seeing.
Well, it's like I think it's like this Ivan has kind of told her how to lie her way in.
It's just like again, you're getting the repetition thing. Like it's hitting me again. Like use lies in one sentence, use lies in the next sentence. The hair one, I'm actually more forgiving for because it's in the same sentence and it's very clear how that's supposed to be.
Someone recommended not a strand out of place instead of not a hair out of place, which also works.
Yeah, that's much stronger. But I think hair. I think Molly's right. I think here the lie thing is a little bit more in because this seems a more intense scene, so it's not repetitive intentionally. It seems repetitive.
Yeah, she could even say she felt as if right then and there she would fumble and just you don't have to say in her lies, just and disappoint Ivan, Pixie, and everyone she's ever known.
Oh yeah, that's
she's obviously like this very neurotic person.
And that weight, chaos is resting on this little interview, and that weight sits heavy on her shoulders. But in that simple answer, the tension drains from her muscles, and she flashes him a sweet smile. What a noble desire for someone so young, the man responds warmly, and without skipping a beat, he continues. It says here that you don't seem to have any official transcripts from any other academies, yet you didn't have any issues getting into my academy. In fact, you passed the entrance exam with a higher score than those who undertook the rigorous training that's usually needed. Mayumi pauses, staring down at the steam rolling off her tea. She starts slowly, carefully, with a voice full of timid caution. I don't know if you need timid there.
No, you don't, because caution already implies that she's kind of
a bit of timidity. Yeah. Also.
Yeah. That's off topic, but I'm thinking instead of Discord or Twitter, what if we just made a burner email for people to send things to?
That's not a bad idea. We'll look into that this week. We can't do it right now on stream.
Yeah, obviously. Let's go on. Let's keep going.
But I'm gonna say like she starts slowly. I love starting as a verb in this circumstance. It's kind of weird to me. I don't disagree with it. I think it works. It's just like whenever I read she starts, I always expect another verb to follow. Like my brain automatically assumes that. So it's implied there's a verb here. So it's fine. It's fine. I'm just my brain is acting a weird on that. Well, I grew up as a traveler. We, me and my friends, well, more like family, we encountered Grimm everywhere. We had to learn how to fight well, otherwise we wouldn't have made it this far. I see. Where are you from again, Miss Nice? Is it Nice? 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 How do you pronounce that, Molly?
Nice? Like the city in France?
Well, she's Japanese-based, so it would be Nice.
Oh, Nice, okay.
Because Mayumi. Miss Nice, where are your family? They must be proud of your accomplishments. I'm from Mistral. I think we could just, but, whatever. I'm from Mistral. My mother and father were killed a long time ago. I'm very sorry to hear that. Can you tell me what killed them? He leans forward with interest, raising a brow. Mayumi's smile falters as she reaches for something foggy. Her eyes gloss as she struggles with the memory. Grim attack on our village. My friend Pixie, she came here with me. She took me from the village after it happened. Please don't feel pity for me. It happened when I was very young. I can barely remember it, she says with forced cheeriness. Oh, please don't pity me for it. It happened when I was very young. I can barely remember it, she says with forced cheeriness, hoping to change the subject to anything else. Oh, am I not falling enough down, I think? What did you do? Even if she
I can't believe nobody caught me spilling that water everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's because we're so used to you spilling the tea, so I mean...
Here's the tea. It's called a mission report.
Yeah. Franklin, from now on, when you refer to... please stop referring to your mission reports as spilling the tea. I love stuff like that, where it's like official reprimands for stupid shit. When we go into warp speed, the crew shall refrain from saying "wee" whenever we do so. That was a fun one my dad loved when we watched Star Trek all the time. Even if she couldn't remember her mother or what killed her mother, the subject was always one that struck at the core of her heart. Whenever she tries to grasp at what had happened, it's as if she's spiraling into a dark hole filled with toxic gas, leaving her blind and her skin burning. Do you mind taking up the next section here?
Yep. Her words fall flat as the two of them dip into static silence. That awful pause is enough to make the air thick and Miami jittery. I like that. She stares down at her hands, which busy themselves with the hem of her shorts. That's a really good paragraph.
Yeah, that was a solid one.
Miss Nisei, how did you get that brand on your stomach? It's quite different from your other scars.
Oh, this is Osmond, remember. You have to be more like, Miss Nisei, how did you get that brand on your stomach? It's quite different.
How did you get that brand on your stomach? It's quite different than your other scars.
It looks almost like one of those, what do they say in hentai? No. Like, how did you get that brand on your stomach? It's just a fucking hentai stamp on the stomach. You've seen that, haven't you?
What's the hentai?
Like,
no.
Like it's a womb tattoo. Like it's tattooed like right on like the stomach, right above the crotch.
Gross. Where do people find these things?
I explore a lot of corners of the interwebs looking for things that I like, and I come across a lot of things, and that is one of the most benign ones.
The boy who lived.
The boy who lived. It's like the opposite of a tramp stamp. It's like the inverse of it. But it means basically the same thing. Actually, it means it worse. Ozpin ASMR. Oh yeah.
I'd be terrible at ASMRs because I only know how to yell.
Hey yo, I'm streaming here.
I am streaming here.
Yeah, succubus stamp. I think that's another name for it.
My favorite ASMR video I've ever come across is this 16-year-old girl who dresses up as Bakugo, and she talks about like self-harm, which I know isn't funny, but it's just the juxtaposition of this teenage girl in cosplay, and she's just pretending to be your boyfriend and talk to you about like serious mental health issues.
I mean, like, I would question her appraisal of serious mental health issues.
Yeah. New York ASMR. And then I said, hey, I'm walking here. And I got myself a bagel. Cream cheese and lox. Just how I like it. Then I went down to Long Island to visit my family. But it's just that for 10 minutes.
Scottish ASMR. I yeah. Oh, fuck baseball. You gotta hit it into the hole. For the record,
I want Scouse ASMR.
For the record,
I love videos of Scouse people ranting about things.
For the record, because Robin Williams' take on golf is one of the best comedy sketches of all time. Just saying. Have you seen it?
No, but
I'll
I'll watch it after this.
It's great.
I posted in the Discord the video of the guy calling into like a football station and talking about how Liverpool isn't part of England. No, I'm not from England. I'm from Liverpool.
God, people. I'm not going to go into that. That's going to open a can of words if I say that. All right, let's go into this. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Where were we?
As rehearsed as her response was, the truth behind the butterfly brand burns in her mind even as she spoke. Of all her scars, the bite marks of her arms and the lashes down her back, that brand held the most weight. The people of my village branded Faunus. I'm sure of that. I'm sure that as a professor, you know that still happens in Mistral. Her voice is winded as she fights to calm her desperate lungs. I'm sorry to hear that. I only have a few more questions. We're almost done. He assures her in a kinder tone, noting her distress. Mayumi, who are you? He asked seriously, resting his elbows on the table, fingers interlocked.
Who are you? Hey,
She looks up
CSI
in
Veil.
surprise. She wasn't expecting this sort of question. Her paperwork should state enough. She was Mayumi Nisei, a 16-year-old girl hoping to get into a prestigious huntsman academy a year early. Mayumi, I don't understand. You should already know that. No, that's your name. I'm asking who you are. Well, that's... I don't... She stumbles over her words for a moment, only to be swiftly cut off by Ozpin. He starts speaking without skipping a beat, moving smoothly as if Mayumi hadn't even attempted an answer. Mayumi, have you ever killed anyone?
Billy, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Sorry, we know that's supposed to be a serious line, but it does feel a little bit out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I like it. I understand exactly what you're going for. I immediately got airplane flashbacks.
Produced by Dick Wolf. Hoot are you? She stares at him, eyes glittering. Why did I? That's not a word. Eyes glittering as she feels his gaze scorch through her. His expression is relaxed, but within the depths of his brown eyes, she feels something sharp cut through her shell to reveal skin made of glass that does not work.
Yeah, because like her. Because you're using a
It just
cutting
doesn't really
term,
make sense.
but like cutting doesn't work with glass. Like. Sharp cut through the shell. Maybe skin made of paper.
Yeah.
I think that's probably.
Her tongue goes dry. Her inner cheeks are the walls of a desert cavern. I think you're relying a little too much on metaphor here.
Yeah, it seems a little harp. A little harp on that.
She bites her lip, mustering her courage to meet the knife's edge that was a stare to defy. Yeah, this is every sentence here is a metaphor. That's a little much. No, Ozpin. I have not killed anyone. Mayumi has to force her eyes to stay. Why am I giving her like the Ruby voice? So the Ruby voice is more. Don't worry, guys. With my willing suspension of disbelief, we could get through anything.
Actually, what kind of faunus is she? She's really cute. Like she's a tail. Like, and it needs brushing, and that sounds really cute. Like, can I get a visual image of what this is? She like a cat faunus with like a big like fluffy tail. Like,
dude, Persian cat faunus.
Persian cat faunus. They're like sleek furred Persian. Well, depends on like there's like different types of Persian cats, right?
Hold on, someone asked, what age rating should we stick to for submissions? Please keep it PG-13.
PG-13. You can skew a little towards R, but not far. Like you can push a little beyond.
Oh, she's a fox faunus. Floof, this one's for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, this is perfect.
Oh, we're gonna be DM'd art.
Oh. Just share that in the Discord. Like, just throw it in the Discord for Floof. Yeah, Floof.
Yeah, look, Floof is going crazy.
Yeah, oh my god, we've activated Floof. I can see his red eyes from here. Alright, let's wrap up the chapter.
Ozpin chuckles, tension draining from the room as he leans back. Mayumi's tense chest deflates and she gives a tight smile. Ozpin extends his hand and she takes it, shaking it firmly just like she was taught to. Her next words ring in her his next words ring in her ears, hovering in the air around her until they become physical. As they settle in with her, she's finally able to truly smile. Welcome to Beacon Academy, Mayumi Nisei. I hope by the end we will both figure out who exactly you are.
Who?
Okay, I think that's a strong first chapter. I mean, it's basically just how like episode 1 of the real show starts, but just straight to the interview.
Yeah, and like what I like about it is that you very much know what you're doing here in the sense that you're focusing entirely on the character. You're building up this character in our heads. You're telling us who she is through how you describe how she interacts with the world and how she's interacting with Ozpin. You give us immediately a way to understand who she is and where she fits in this world.
Yeah, and since she's the main character, or at least I assume she's the main focus, that is very crucial. Just tell us who she is, because this is an original character, so we have to know, like Raven said, how she's fitting in with the world around her.
And you've got like an interesting backing to her character as well that I like, which is like, you know, she's lying to Ozpin about something, and we don't know exactly what it is she's lying about yet.
I love that.
And I
like that's an engagement. When Star and I were DMing each other the other day, we were talking about the importance of engagement. I think with a fanfic, the goal should be like, I don't need to know a single thing about this world, and I could still care about where this person goes. Because Mayumi isn't Weiss or Yang or anyone I'm familiar with, but I still want to see where her story goes, despite the fact that, like, you know, she's not a thing.
Yeah, and considering, like, it's not, so far as I can tell, it's not AU, so anyone that knows the show and knows up through Volume 3 knows that the fall of Beacon is going to happen. So we're like, all right, when does this take place proximal to that? Is she going to be involved in the events? Is there going to be something that happens to her? Like, how great if this entire fic builds to, like, a dramatic moment where, like, we get to learn about all of her, you know, all these dreams and such, her friends, her group. There's this lie that they have to keep hidden from Ozpin. And we keep building and building, but slowly as Beacon falls and everything falls to shit, it becomes less and less relevant as people are, like, picked off. Like subverting it in the way that, like, this is a side story meant to show the tragedy of Beacon, that, like, there's these complex, interesting, and likable characters that are being killed and are being wiped out by this horrific event, and giving us, like, an intensity to that moment. It could go that way. It could go another way. She could be involved in even deeper in the conspiracy involved. She could be not involved at all. There could be something else going on.
Yeah. Another thing I really like that you do is that you immediately throw Mayumi into not conflict in the traditional sense,
but an uncomfortable situation.
A challenge.
Yeah.
And that's where character really shows, is when a character is faced with something difficult. So you're not only introducing her as a base character, but we're also really getting into her from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm feeling this is very strong. Now, I don't know if do we think we're going to continue reading this for the
No, we're just going to do the first chapter.
That's the first chapter. So yeah, that's a very strong start. Incredibly strong start. The very few notes were like, you know, you kind of went a little overboard with the descriptive the similes up here, but like,
yeah, some minor, like, prose things.
Yeah, minor.
But the important thing about writing is storytelling, and you got that part.
Yeah. So I think that's excellent. Absolutely excellent. Now, I think it's about time we wrap up the stream. I would show it on stream, but, like, the image on stream, but if I do that, Molly will disappear, so...
You can show it for a second. I will sacrifice my screen time.
Oh, yeah, I've seen her. Let me... Copy image. I'll post it. I'll go to Molly and paste here, so I can open it here. And
oh yeah, it's the girl in your profile pic.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was...
That's a cool design.
Yeah, let me grab Molly's webcam and just drag it up here for a little bit. It's not the full picture, but you get it. All right, now I click undo. That way we can have it. But yes, excellent work. Excellent work. Now, so what do we want for the next challenge? Now we have two options in front of us. Basically, we have the idea of dialogue writing, or we could do something involving the newest Ruby episode. We can like preemptively like keep in. Do we want to try and preempt the Ruby episode in some way, or do we want to just belay that?
Well, people like it when we talk about Ruby, so we could do that. I think chat should decide.
Well, yeah, chat. What do you want?
And while you decide, I'm going to list off all the baseball and other sports teams that I have with my hats, as like a timer for you to decide. So make sure that you have your decision before I name all the hats. Okay. Nashville Sound, minor league baseball. Charleston River Dogs, minor league baseball. Texas Longhorns, NCAA. Washington Nationals, major league baseball. Columbus Clippers, minor league baseball. Round Rock Express, minor league baseball. Arizona Diamondbacks, major league baseball. Nevada Wolfpack, NCAA. Durham Bulls, minor league baseball. Albany Empire, arena football. Rayquaza Hat, Worcester Railers, minor league hockey. Charleston River Dogs, minor league baseball. LA Dodgers, major league baseball. And Minnesota Twins, major league baseball. All right, you better have your answers in.
Well, we'll give time for the stream to catch up, but it doesn't look like we're getting any kind of consensus. Mupa is very strong on the dialogue prompt. Both. We're getting two boths from Elysian.
We could do Ruby dialogue prompt.
Yeah, Ruby dialogue prompt. How do we want to go about it?
I mean, I just wanted to show off that I could name a lot of sports teams based on their logos. It looks like a lot of them want to do dialogue.
Okay.
We could do dialogue with like Ruby. I don't know.
Well, I want to kind of involve it with episode 1, or do we want to save that for next week?
We could do that, like purchase more hats. I will.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's same word limits, 500 words about there. Pick a scene from volume. Well, actually, how many people are going to be able to see it now that I think about it? Because it won't be public.
There's anime streaming sites.
I don't want.
If you,
I don't. I only encourage perfectly legal streaming sites, Molly.
Okay.
So I think
if you can't watch the episode, just read the summary of the episode, or just choose a different point or a different scenario.
I think we'll just go general, and then like next week we'll start doing the Ruby prompt, the full Ruby prompt.
All right, general dialogue. When you do dialogue, really make sure you work on describing the characters through the dialogue. Make sure that you really get emotions across. Make sure that the dialogue tells a story in and of itself, but don't over-explain.
What prompt should we give them for the dialogue?
Hat Queen. Prompt for the dialogue?
I got a writing prompt thing here. Random plot generator. Let's do that. No.
Molly is secretly an auctioneer.
Random scenario, is that right? Nope. Random first line, right? Writing exercise.
They really want a dialogue exercise.
Okay, so we'll go with that, and we gotta figure out subject plot generator. Generating a story plot. I don't have any good prompts pulled up. So, Greg, someone suggest prompts.
You could just make it be a Ruby scene, because okay, you have enough room. You have enough room.
The thing is, I don't want them reusing the same. Rewrite a Ruby dialogue scene. Choose a scene.
And remember, it's Ruby characters, so there isn't that much characterization you have to work around. You have to make it better. You have to make the characterization better than it was.
Yes. So that's the prompt.
If you don't want to do Ruby, you could also not do Ruby, and just let us know.
It's just general. We're looking for dialogue prompts. So long as it's a dialogue prompt that's less than 500 words, we'll take it. We'll read it on air. But Ruby is, if you need extra inspiration, find a Ruby scene that you either like or hate. Rework the dialogue. Now, remember, let's start to sign off. Let's kind of wind it down. Thank you all very much for joining us. remember that for $1 or more to my Patreon, you can get access to the Team Frostbite Discord server where I, Molly, Fatman Falling, and Dashi Lee are regularly active.
And I antagonize people there for free.
Yeah, we're actually going to have to talk about that. No, well, let's see. So for that, and it'd be easier to submit through Discord, honestly. We keep track of things much easier that way. But you can always submit your prompts through Discord or to the Twitter, at Raymond_McNeil or at Out of Sync. Sync as in CINQE, QUE.
QUE, yeah.
Now, with that said, remember, tomorrow, Fixing Ruby Volume 4 finale. Get ready for it, guys. It's going to be explosive. There is some stuff you guys are not going to be expecting coming. And I'm so excited. There are things you're not going to be expecting. I don't think I've told you about one thing that's coming. So I'm excited. So thank you all so much for watching. And we'll catch you all. Oh, the deadline is next week. Either Thursday or Friday is when we usually have the streams.
We'll catch you